Everybody, welcome on to VSL F1. This is season number 10 and we're at the sprint race and we go to Monza for the Italian Grand Prix. We had a great race at China last week, but there's lots of points on offer and we could see a change in the championship lead tonight. My name is Jess Ball and joining me once again, he wasn't here last week but he's now back this week. We've got Aidan back with us. Aidan, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Yeah, looking forward to tonight. It's I've only been away for one round, but it feels like the championship has weirdly flipped on its head all of a sudden in the past few weeks, hasn't it? It was like the twisted show up until the midway point of the season, but because of recent performances from Cam, the championship is now blown kind of back wide open again. So yeah, going to be an interesting night, and of course with the sprint race tonight, there's a lot more points on offer and a lot more to play for.
Yes, it is. And the track is being called La Pista Magica, as the Italians like to call it, but we like to call it the Temple of Speed. Used in Formula 1 first back in 1950, 5.7 kilometres long, 11 turns. We got a lot more drivers here today, which is great to see, a better turnout than last week. And it's quite a short track as well, and don't forget we have one-shot qualifying, so people have only one chance to impress in their quali runs, or that's it. And don't forget the sprint race decides the grid for the 50% race, so we're going to be in for a crazy ride today, but there's a few drivers that need to do well, and that's Ferrari-powered cars.
Yeah, they definitely do. They need to do well here. It's their home ground, isn't it? But of course, beyond that, they've not had the best of seasons as teams themselves. So yeah, they definitely need to get back into the swing of things and try and see if they can kind of put their way to the front of the field. And I think Monza's deceivingly difficult to overtake on, isn't it? Especially in real life. I think everybody thinks because there's so many long straights and so many heavy braking zones that it's actually an easy track to overtake on. But it's not the case because everybody's running the lowest downforce they can. DRS strains are very common. The track's quite narrow as well. So overtaking is quite difficult around here. So if you do have a bad qualifying going into the sprint race, that it's not as easy as other tracks to regain places in the sprint race. So it's going to be an interesting one, definitely, as Monza this one is. And of course, this could be one of the last times we see the sprint race in this format. Of course, there are rumours talking about in real life how they're going to change the sprint race format a little bit so that we have a separate sprint race qualifying to a separate full race qualifying. So could be seeing some sprint race changes in the near future and potentially on the next F1 game. So just as we were getting used to sprint races, it sounds like they're going to get changed again.
Yeah, I think they're going to try that out in Baku as well and see what happens. And I think I remember Q3, they're only going to get one lap as well. So I think they're copying what we're doing in league race and doing one-shot qualifying and putting it into the sprint, which is very exciting. We could return to a single lap qualifying for what we saw, I think, back in the early 90s, early noughties as well. And I remember that, and I'm sure you remember that as well. But there's certain people watching that are not old enough to remember that. They're probably not even born, but there we go. This track used to have some ovals in it as well. It used to be longer than obviously the 5 kilometres that we know today as well, but due to safety reasons there were more chicanes added to slow the cars down, because now we can imagine about 70% full throttle. It was more than that coming into obviously the 1970s, and there was a first lap crash 1978. More changed in 1980 as well with a brand new upgrade to the pit, so quite a lot to happen as well. But luckily the drivers are going to be experiencing a dry qualifying for the time being as well. So who do we expect to do well at the drivers? Who is good at a one-shot quali phase, do you think, after seeing all the sprint races so far?
I think, well, the sprint race rounds that we've seen so far this season, I think it's fair to say that Cam's probably the favourite, you've got to say, coming into tonight, especially after the run of form that he's had in the past 3 rounds, where he's had a first, a second and a first place finish in 3 rounds in a row now. So definitely him, definitely be one to look out for, as well as his Williams teammate, championship leader Twisted. He's been up there all season long. I'm sure he'll be up there once again, so he'll be one to look out for. Yaham, of course, as well. If he's, I'm not quite sure if he's, I believe he is, but
I think he is.
Yeah, so he could definitely be one as well. But another one to look out for as well is Finley. He's not raced much this season. He's way down there in the championship. But when he has been here, he's been good in qualifying. He's not quite been able to get the results in the race, but qualifying has definitely been a strong suit. So Finley Liverpool, that is, could be one to look out for going into this race. So yeah, a few names that could swing a surprise here. And of course, with it being Monza as well, it's actually it's one of those tracks where the field tends to be very close, but you tend to find Monza specialists like you do at some circuits around this calendar as well. It's one of those tracks where some people may not like other circuits or may not be as comfortable in this game, but really suit Monza. I know for me personally, when I used to drive this game, Monza was one that was always a good track for me because it always seemed to suit my driving style for some bizarre reason. So yeah, it's definitely one that you could see a bit of a surprise maybe pulled from some people.
And in contrast to me, it doesn't suit my driving style at all because it's too fast. It doesn't give me enough time to figure out my throttle and braking inputs and stuff like that. But yeah, I wonder if it suits some people's driving style more than others. And a lot of people seem to be leaving the session. We might be getting a lobby restart. I can't even check Discord, so we'll double check in just a moment. I'll get the scene up so I can check Discord. Yeah, lobby restart. Okay, that probably explains why we've been waiting so long. So we'll probably have to speak for a little bit more whilst we wait to start. Apologies about that, but it gives us a chance to talk about the standings as well. And whilst I do that, I'll try and rejoin the game as well. So we've got Twisted, like we were saying, 27-point gap to Cam, 142 points to 115. Yarham in third. The top three, believe it or not, in the championship were the top three in the race last week, but obviously in the wrong order. Obviously Cam won, Twisted second, and Yarham third. And then we've got the likes of Mata, who's closest in fifth. He's on 80 points, with Charlie Harris at 59. Charlie Harris was meant to be racing tonight, but he's doing some other stuff, so he can't make it, unfortunately. Waity in 7th on 59 as well. Ewan had a good result last time out on 6 points, as well as Kedwa as well in 10th place. I forgot to mention Casper, who was just ahead as well. Unfortunately, DNF was very unlucky last week. GMAT in 12th on 12 points. And Finley, like we were saying, down at the bottom on 8 points as well. And who can forget also Speed 9 as well. Last of our drivers, who is a full-timer, that's been there most races this season, that hasn't scored many points. Only scored 10 points, and that was at round number 5. So he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to get himself up there. But Williams 1-2, I think that translates to constructors because they're pretty much almost 100 points clear of Mercedes.
Yeah, they've got a massive lead in the Constructors' Championship, don't they? I mean, they have been the dominant force all season long, and you've got to think for Mercedes as well. They've had driver swaps in the middle of the season as well, so really, technically, their closest full-time team that's remained the same all season is Ferrari, and Ferrari are at the moment 118 points behind Williams and have nearly half the points that Williams do. So yeah, Williams have been the dominant force all season long. They've been such a strong pair and they've worked really well together, so not a surprise to see them at the front. It's now a case of, I think, which one of these two is gonna come out on top, really, because you've got to say first half of the season Twisted had all the momentum, but in the last 3 rounds it's swung back in Cam's favour, so there's all the paint to go. And if they're too focused on each other, then Yarham is still, at the moment at least, especially if he has a good night tonight, Yarham is still within striking distance potentially of picking off one of the Williams in the championship. Maybe not both, but potentially one of them, especially if tonight goes well for Yarham. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one championship wise. The Williams have been the strongest pair all season long, and it's never really looked like they're in doubt. I think, if I'm not mistaken, other than Jinx, of course, who's not here anymore, the only other person I believe this season to have won a race that isn't the Williams pair is Kieran, and that was down at I believe 2 rounds ago for Kieran. And to be fair to Kieran, as strong of a driver he is, that's been a bit of an anomaly for Kieran this season because he's had a win and I believe a 4th place, and other than that he's not finished any higher than 8th. So it's been a very bizarre season to say the least for some drivers. But yeah, Williams have been so strong, and I really don't expect that to change anytime soon.
Yeah, so remember the dominant force we've seen at Williams back in 1996 as well, where we saw Damon Hill and Villeneuve do well as well. Of course, we had 93 with Prost and Hill. They were quite dominant as well. And 92 with Nigel Mansell as well, who could forget him. Petrady scored some points here and there, but obviously it was Nigel Mansell who did quite well as well. So, and we've also got notable Williams drivers. Don't forget Pastor Maldonado, who took Williams' only victory in 2012, Spanish Grand Prix, its own Grand Prix, I believe. And yeah, it was quite a carnage race as well, and he managed to put it on pole and then still went on to win the race, which was great to see. It was a shame that it was his only win of that championship, but there we go as well. And there's obviously certain Williams drivers that haven't done as well, obviously, in Monza in the past. Remember Nick de Vries last year, he managed to get points on debut in a Williams car as well. Shame it's not translating to the AlphaTauri, which strongly suggests that Williams is a better car than AlphaTauri at the end of the day as well. It's just a shame that Williams are not a dominant force as we're seeing like in the 90s, early noughties, because Williams is a history heritage team. They've won loads of constructors and drivers championships, but obviously they're building back up with Albon and Sargent now. How long is it going to take for them to make their way back up?
It's going to be an interesting one. I think these next couple of years could really define, I think, the future for Williams in real life F1. I think you've got to say, compared to where they were in 2019, they're already miles ahead of where they were at that point. They were a good 4 seconds off the leading pace that year and were being lapped by the next fastest car. They were so far off the pace for Williams back when it was Kubica and Russell. So it's been a lot worse for Williams. But this year already, of course, despite the fact that he crashed out in Australia, Albon was running inside the top 6 at that point, and he comfortably qualified inside the Q3, and that was something that, from 2018 onwards, it was very unlikely that you would ever see a Williams in Q3. You got to think back to last year in 2022. The first Williams to reach Q3 was Latifi at Silverstone, and that was a bit of an anomaly performance there because of the changeable conditions. So we're already 3 rounds in, and they're already making their step forwards. And of course, the rule changes that we've had in real life Formula 1 with the new budget cap rules and how the aerodynamic timing is given to everybody. Williams being last in the championship last year and being last in the championship the year before have the most wind tunnel time of anybody, and that is still going to translate into when it changes over into the results from last year in July, which is what they do after everything is finalised through the tax season and things. So July is when the new aerodynamic period starts, and Williams will still have the most. So beyond the fact that they've had a better start to a season than we've seen for them in a long time, they also have the most scope to improve. So there's going to be, potentially, in the next couple of years, I think we could see Williams as a potential constant midfield running team, I would say. At the moment, they're still, you would say, 9th or 10th best team, along with AlphaTauri. With the odd occasion where there's a track that suits them, they can get some points on the board. But I see that changing in the next couple of years to them being a consistent midfield team, especially with some good backing behind them now. So, yeah, I think it's like times ahead for Williams. And for a lot of us Formula 1 fans that have been around for a long time, I know I have as well, Williams have been such a staple of the sport, and they've been such a huge they've been so different to every other Formula 1 team now, haven't they? Every other Formula 1 team is a huge manufacturer or has manufacturer backing. Williams are the only one that really don't have that, and they grew up being a family-run team. Obviously, they're not anymore, but that is the namesake. They are a family-run team, and we don't see anything like that in Formula 1 anymore. So seeing a team like Williams be successful in Formula 1, I think, is really important for the sport to keep some of its heritage.
Yeah, and with James Vowles obviously coming into the team, he is now obviously the team principal now, and I think that's probably helped shape up the team in some way, because obviously he has some experience from Mercedes, and Mercedes obviously, they're 8-time Constructors Champions, 8-time Driver Champions with Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg, of course. So he knows how to run a well-oiled machine. And even though the magic won't work straight away, it will work in the next couple of years. So maybe we could see Williams maybe turn into Aston Martin in a couple of years, that they start to build the ground up early on. And then maybe in 2026, maybe when the new regulations come then, maybe that's when they shine as well. And we got to obviously talk about Aston Martin growing as well. If Aston Martin can go from being a bottom team to being like second in the pecking order, which I think they are now, no offence to Merkel, Ferrari or anything, but they are definitely second, then Williams can do it as well, especially with James Vowles in the pecking order as well. And it's a shame, obviously, that McLaren are not doing as well. But with no talk about real life now, we are going to get some racing underway. One-shot qualifying, we are going to get back into business.
Yeah, back into business with one-shot qualifying for Monza, so it's going to be nice and quick, and a little bit of a delay, a little bit of angst built up for these drivers, but I'm sure we're going to get into a fun evening of racing now.
Yep, we are. So let's go through the lap, and we're going to go on board with Ratesy as we head towards turn number 1. Always a scene of incidents at the start of the race, and it's a heavy braking zone as well. Very tight corners. You must tackle those quite head on, really, as you stick onto the outside of the entry to get the best turn in, and try to kiss the apex a little bit in turn 1. Don't do it too much as in previous games. Past the curve at Grande as well, you've got to try and avoid the gravel on the right hand side as well. Aim as close to the right hand side as you possibly can as well. Rage just after the 100 metre board into the Variante de Rogia of turn 4 and 5. Then to the first and second lesmos as well. Brake at the 15 metre board for each as well. Aim to the right as well, kissing that right hand curve as well as much as you can. Otherwise it will unsettle the car if you do it too much. There's a lot of camber around this circuit as well. You're past the DRS straight, heading towards Ascari. Again, brake briefly just after the metre board. You go right, left, right, and then left. And is that an invalidation for Ratesy? No, it's not. Okay, so he's still got away with the lap he's got so far. Heading towards the Parabolica, also known as Alvaretta curve. Some people call it Alvaretta curve, but I still like to call it Parabolica. No offence to any F1 organisers that are watching the stream, but Ratesy up to the line, 120.1. But as predicted at the start of the stream, we've got a Williams on top. We've got Twisted in P1, but Cam, who is closing up to his teammate Twisted in the championship, only 11th.
Yeah, I didn't quite see what happened. It looked like in the early parts of the lap, the two Williams and the two Alpines were pretty much dead level on pace through the first two sectors. I'm assuming Cam's made a mistake through the Ascari chicane, and that's why he's dropped all the time, because he was running for at least a second row spot on the grid. So, yeah, a real shame there from Cam, but of course we've got 2 races for him to be able to make up some of that time and some of that positions as well. When the other driver that was involved in that was Joachim, he's obviously not set a lap time at all. It's not disqualified, so we didn't invalidate. He's obviously crashed at some point on the lap. So Joachim at the very back of the grid was speed knighting on the back row, sadly. And Tet31, another driver who's been fast all season long, was the only driver to invalidate their run.
Yeah, and it's so easy to invalidate usually around here as well. Turn 4 could be quite easy to invalidate as well. You can clip the curb as well. You don't want to clip that sausage curb because it can give you some slight damage as well. But those are your times. Kieran doing very well in second, and Finley, our outsider, doing quite well in 4th place. So maybe that translates to him doing well in the race. You never know. And there could be some drivers that may not have done well for most of the season, who may do very well here. But for those of you that are wondering what obviously the format of this sprint is going to entail, because it's been a while since we've done the sprint. So for the sprint race, top 8 drivers score points. So P1 gets 8 points, second 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, down to 1. And then main race, 50% race, it'll be the same normal VSL point system. No fastest lap for the sprint race, but fastest lap for the main race as well. We got a 2-minute break in between each of them as well, so we get so the drivers can get a bit of a breather, get their setup for the race as well. And obviously they only have they don't have to pit in the sprint race, but I think most people would opt to go onto the mediums. But I've noticed around here Monza can have a very high chance of safety cars, so expect maybe one in the sprint, I would say. It is quite a short sprint, this one.
It is quite a short one, and even with the lap being quite long, it's one of the longer circuits on the calendar. It's, I think, at least in the top 8 or so in terms of length on the calendar. The problem is, because the track is so fast, the lap actually goes very quickly. So 9 times out of 10, this is the quickest race you will see in a season in Formula 1 and in league racing, because the race goes by so quickly. But like you say, safety cars are common. There's a lot of places you can crash out. I think namely the 2 places that you're going to see cool safety cars, you've got to say, are the 2 Lesmos and the exit of Ascari. Those are the places where the wall's quite close, and that's where the incidents can happen. So those will be hot spots potentially for some spins and some incidents, but if we don't get any, then that should be fine.
Yes, indeed. We've got the formation lap as I try and get my audio settings down, because I think it was a bit too loud going into this qualifying session. But we will be able to see what tyres people have gone on for. And according to the game, everybody except for one driver, Speed Knighton, has gone for the medium compounder tyres. I didn't think you could choose soft for the sprint race. I didn't think he can. I don't think softs last that long around here. I think they only last about 7 laps. So, very brave call for Speed Knighton to go on softs while everyone else on the mediums. I guess he wants some free set of mediums when he goes into the race a little bit later on. But I know on this game, one person tried that and it didn't work. But fair play to Pete for taking a risk. He's got to overtake a lot of cars, though.
Yeah, he has got to overtake a lot of cars, and he's at the back of the field anyway. I think it's worth the gamble, especially if there is a safety car during the race, of course. Then he can pit again for a different set of softs if he wants to, or a set of mediums at that point in the race anyway. So he's got options there to do it. I have done a sprint race in the past here around Monza back in the very early days of this game, before we had that performance update and handling model update, back when I preferred this game, not going to lie. And I ran the sprint race on the softs there, and the soft tyres were good for about first. They were better than the mediums for about 5 laps, and then they kind of plateaued out midway through. They were a little bit worse for the final 2 laps, but by that point, everything had kind of settled down, and you'd found yourself in a rhythm, and you managed to gain places. In that sprint race, personally, I gained 4 places by starting on the softs in the sprint and going from 9th to 5th in that one. So I don't think it's too much of a gamble, especially because tyre wear itself around here isn't particularly high. There's not many corners where you can wear your tyres out. The corners are, majority of the corners here are very quick direction changes, which don't take a lot out of the tyres. So I think for Speed Knighton, being at the back of the field, having not many points to his name, having a rough season is sad, it's worth the risk.
Yeah, I can understand it. I think it's one of those tracks where the softs can last quite a bit as well once you get into it. But it also depends on the setup as well. If you have a heavy car which has a lot of oversteer, you are going to be eating into your tyres quite a lot. So I'd just be wary of that. And bearing in mind, a lot of people, I did it in a race yesterday around Monza, a lot of people are going to run 0-0 wings for this race. So they're going to be a rocket ship down the straights, but an absolute nightmare down the corners. It's going to be quite an entertaining sprint race. Only 9 laps. It's going to be over pretty quickly, but who's going to win this one? Cam's looked like the favourite in previous sprint races, but not today. He's starting 11th, but we're about to get underway for the first race of the night, and it is lights out and away we go. Twister got a very good start from Kieran. Simon Palmer's got a good start as well. A lot of people backing off a little bit, but Kieran dropping down to 4th. Look at that, Alpine trying to get past a lot of cars, and it's pushed, I think, one of the AlphaTauris around, but Kieran trying to fight back a little bit. Ewan, I think, has been forced to let people go due to that contact, but G-Macker's like, you know what? I'm going to avoid this carnage, and he's up to 3rd already past the Curva Grande. And look at Twisted. He is already checked out already. 2 seconds separating the rest of the field. And as they go through to turn 4, we've got 2 in the McLarens having some issues as well. Kieran dropped down to 9th. Kedda's gone up to 7th. Oh, that's close. Oh, there's a big pile-up. Huge pile-up. Ewan's out the race. I think one of the Red Bulls have been taken out as well. And unsurprisingly, we got a safety car here at Monza, and we're only on lap 1, and it's only the sprint race. Welcome back.
Oh dear. Yeah, welcome back. Yeah, that was not great, was it? That was not a great end to that part of the lap, unfortunately. Yeah, by the looks of things, it was, I believe that was Keza that was off the road, unfortunately. He ran wide coming out of the first Lesmo, and then gravel on his tyres, came back onto the track and lost control, wasn't in control of his car, speared across the track and crashed into basically both AlphaTauris and Cam at the same time. Dewan's out of the race from what was a 3rd place start in this sprint race. He's now out of it. Cam's got no front wing on his Williams, our 2nd place driver in the championship. Tech's got no front wing on his AlphaTauri either. So really rough start for some of those drivers. Yarham's into the pit lane. I think he potentially picked up damage in that as well, so yeah, he's in, but beyond the fact that he potentially picked up damage, we'll see if he changes front wing. Yes, he does. Beyond that, Yarham actually had a brilliant start from 13th on the grid up to 7th. He had a brilliant start. That damage, unfortunately, has cost him, but he is onto the soft compound tyre, so he could be one to look out for a bit later on. And as per usual, someone always gets away at the start, and this time around it was Twisted. What a start he had. He was 2.5 seconds clear, by the way, before that safety car came out. That is a mega start in the sprint race, and what a great start from G-Mac, doing what he's been doing all season long and keeping his nose clean, staying out of trouble, when this time around it paid off beautifully for him. That contact as well at turn 1, unfortunately, that's fully on Finley. I think he was over enthusiastic about the fact that he got an amazing start from fourth on the grid that he kind of missed his breaking point for the first chicane, ran wide and took Dewin with him. So that's why Dewin ended up at the back of the field, and then Dewin was in the wrong place at the wrong time with that second incident. So really unlucky for the AlphaTauri driver.
Obviously, it will be down to the stewards. I think Finley got a bit too greedy as well, as you were saying. But, you know, in his lap one, sometimes people like to take risks at the start. So fair play for Finley for trying to do that. But in a race like this, where every point is possible around here and only 8 places get points, that you can't make mistakes like that, and you're going to lose so much. And I believe penalties get taken into account in the feature race. So if you get it tangled in an instant in the sprint race, it can affect your feature race as well, even when you least expect it. So Finley's got to be careful not to pick points, to pick penalty points and take second time penalties this early on into the weekend. But let's look at positions gained then for these drivers. We've got Waitsy Finley that's gained 1. Obviously, GMAT has gained 4. Another driver that's gained well, as I was saying earlier. Simon Palmer up 4. You had a rocket of a start. Casper's up 2 as well. Kieran, after that safety car escapade, he's gone back up to 7. Speed Knighton, by the way, he's stayed out, I believe, or has he gone on to mediums? No, he stayed out, and he's still on his softs. And in a rocket ship, he's got some time to save on those softs, and he could potentially go to the end of the race on them. Keza has stayed where he is at the moment, but he's dropped down 2 places. Matra and Tech stay where they are. Yarham has gained 3 places, and Cam, one of the biggest losers, he's now last place and changing another front wing, and he's on the soft compounded tyres. You've got to be careful to not use too much of your softs, because I'm guaranteeing there's going to be a lot of softs being used in the sprint, in the feature race, the way this is going, if it's like this for the sprint.
Yeah, potentially, yeah, you don't want to use up all your soft compound tyres, but yeah, Cam into the replace the front wing again. I don't know if he made contact with somebody under the safety car. Maybe he made contact with the back of Tech 31 under the safety car, and that's why he's had to pit for a new front wing, unfortunately. But yeah, Cam not having good luck here tonight. The last sprint race we had back at Budapest, if I'm not mistaken, was Cam had an awful showing at that sprint race, didn't he? Of course, the first sprint round, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was at Miami, if I remember correctly, and had a really good showing in the first sprint race of the season, did Cam. He managed to score nearly full points. Austria, there we go. Cam scored really well in the first sprint round of the season, but the second sprint round of the season that we had in Budapest, he struggled and spun in both races. So he's unfortunately carried on the Budapest momentum rather than the Austria one. So not a great start, but he is now on softs, and that safety car as well for Speed Knighton is massive, because that means he should get to the end of this sprint race on these soft compound tyres with no tyre wear issues whatsoever. So this has played nicely into Knighton's hands.
And that means he gets extra 7 millions for the main race if he has to use them for the latter part of this race, if we get quite a few safety cars. So to be honest, he could do every strategy and work well. So safety car has gone in then, and Twisted, he's going to do what Twisted usually does and get a good restart, and he does. And he's already a second clear of everybody already, and continuing where he left off at the start of the race. Finley, though, is going to try and capitalise what he did from earlier on and trying to get past GMAT, but GMAT's covers him off very nicely as well. We've got Racy trying to go down the inside of Simon Palmer. A big contact there, but to no avail, unfortunately. Casper got a bit squirmy on exit, and that's allowing, I think, Simon Palmer to catch up a little bit. Going towards the curve at Grande, Simon Palmer with the better line as well. Keep it to the right-hand side line. Kieran, Casper's teammate, is in this fight as well. Right in the middle of this as well, heading towards turn 4. Simon Palmer, good defensive work from him. Oh, there's a pile-up in the background, and Pete's lost his front wing, I think. Cam's lost his front wing. I think Kieran has lost his front wing. Oh, no, Kieran has got very lucky. I think the only one that was that pretty much got away the worst of it was Kieran. So, yeah, so Knighton we thought was going to be the best at the restart. Well, he's down in 13th, but Twisted already is pulling away until the cows come home. He's loving, oh, someone's gone off! Someone's gone off in a Scary, so easy to do. Waitsy is out the race, and we get another safety car. What is going on? We haven't had any DRS yet.
Yeah, we've not even had a lap of green flag racing yet. That is unfortunate. That is a really unfortunate spin there for Waitsy as well. When, yeah, Cam Cam's going to run out of front wings at this point. This is going to be his third one. Simon Palmer's now got to drive through for speeding under the safety car as well to top things off. So when we go green flag again, he's going to have to dive into the pit lane. Casper's in for potentially either softs or a change of front wing on that McLaren. I think it's just a tyre change for Casper. Tet 31's in. I'm sure that's for damage. Cam will be in for another front wing. Knighton in for another front wing as well. I think it was Kieran and Knighton initially that made the contact, and then Cam potentially, I think, just got caught up in the aftermath of it. But yeah, really messy, unfortunately, down into the De La Roggia chicane there. It's a tight chicane. Sometimes you just have to back out of the move and think about a different one, and clearly somebody didn't in that mess. And I think Twister's going to be a bit frustrated because every time he seems to get away, the safety car seems to bring them all back together, and that brings back the jeopardy. But yeah, as it's going right now, not a great sprint race so far. We've not had a full green flag lap of racing yet, and we're 5 laps in. So yeah, not a great start. But a person who did have a good safety car restart is Yarham. He's avoided all the carnage. He's now up to 6th on those set of soft compound tyres. So he's managed to make up all the places that he lost through having to pit for a change of front wing at the first safety car.
I think then the person that usually is in 6th usually has the carnage on the restart, so I'm a bit worried for Yarham at the moment, but he's in the best position on those softs. He's got to pass pretty much a lot of cars to potentially get in this pecking order. Don't forget Simon Palmer has to serve a drive-through, so technically Yarham does not have to fight Simon Palmer, but he's got to fight the cars in front. And we know how Philly is good with safety car restarts, so it's going to be a different beast, I think, for Yarham as well. So already we lost 2 drivers. Don't forget, top 8 score points in this sprint race. We've got both McLarens still in this race. Obviously, one Ferrari. There's the other Ferrari's obviously not here tonight. 2 Alpines, 2 Red Bulls, 2 Williams. Obviously, one Williams leading and one Williams down in 11th spot at the moment. And if these guys are not careful, they're going to run out of tyres for the feature race. I mean, they're gonna be a lot of people are going to be on scrub tyres for the feature race. And as Cam comes in again, I wonder if he's going to go on to a set of tyres so he doesn't have to use these 7 millions for the feature race. That is a smart move if that's the case as well. Obviously, Pete stays out. That means he's going to prolong the safety car even longer at the moment. And I think my driver of the day at the moment, Aidan, is going to Bert Mylander. What do you think?
Yeah, he's led this race more than everybody, hasn't he? I mean, He may as well, Bert Mylander, the way it's gone, may as well have just stayed out at that previous safety car restart and genuinely raced the F1 cars because he'd still be in it. So, yeah, not a great sprint race so far. Cam in again for another fresh set of softs. I think, like you mentioned, he doesn't want to use up those mediums because those are his feature race set of medium tyres. So he doesn't want to use them up now and put any life on them that he doesn't need to. So he's back in for a set of softs and back down to 12th place. And yeah, Cam not having a good night tonight, unfortunately, in this sprint race, but hopefully things can change for him in the feature. His teammate, though, loving life out front at the moment. And of course, this, remember, does set the grid as well for the feature race. So at the moment, Twisted will be on pole with GMAC on the front row, which will be a lovely front row start for the Mercedes. Finney right up there as well. And at the moment, as it stands, if it were to end now with Simon Palmer's penalty, Keza would be 4th and Yarham would be 5th on the grid. So it would be a great recovery from Yarham, considering that he was 13th on the grid for the sprint. So look out for Yarham here. He could be a bit of an influential player at the end of this one as well. So yeah, a lot to look forward to for these final 3 laps. Luckily, we shouldn't have any safety cars from here on out because I think it's impossible for the safety car to come out in these final 3 laps. So we should get 3 laps of green flag racing. How many people make it to the end of those 3 laps, though, is a different question.
Yes, and what will be the closest ever finish, I wonder, around Monza? I think the last time we ever had a close finish was in Monza in 1971. It was Peter Gethin, it had a Ronnie Peterson, it was 0.01 seconds ahead as well, and it was the fastest ever Formula 1 Grand Prix back then, until obviously 2003, where the top 5 finishes were covered by just over 6 tenths of a second. How close is it going to be here? Well, with Twisted performing the way he is, it might not be close. And he's pulling away once again. He is a rocket ship, whereas everyone else is trying to go 3 wide. In the background, we've got the 2 Red Bulls trying to go side by side. We've got Yarham trying to go into the middle of this. Please don't make it 3 wide, lads. Oh, my goodness me. We're not going to get any green flag racing. Keza has been forced to cut the chicane. If it was like a 50% race, it definitely would have been a safety car. But luckily, that we can't have any more safety cars. They're literally going, oh my goodness, they're literally going 3 wide. Peter's gone off as well. I think Peter's given up at this point, but Twisted has remained unfazed. GMAC remained unfazed as well. Matters up to 4th. Tech's up to 5th out of all this. Yarham's trying to fight back as well. I think I think we've got to teach these drivers that you just don't go 3 wide.
Yeah, 3 wide is fine, but not at Monza on a safety car restart. That was never going to work for Johan. Why he thought he could fit his Alpine in between the 2 Red Bulls, I will never know. That was a really silly move, and he's taken Simon Palmer out. Of course, Palmer would have been at the back anyway because of his drive-through, but Johan just took him out of the race completely anyway. And Kessa's now obviously down in 9th place as well when he was running up in 4th. So, yeah, silly move there from Johan. And it was an opportunity as well for Johan to get further up the grid for the start of the feature. He's blown that opportunity for himself now as well and opened the door for one of his championship rivals, Cam, who's now up to 6th place all of a sudden in this and scoring points now from relatively nowhere just a lap ago. So, Cam's back into this one for him, which is good. Finley on the back of GMAC trying to see if he can get this 2nd place, trying to get onto the front row. Twisted and GMAC have been the only ones not involved in anything so far in this race. They've been very clean at the front of the field. Finley, of course, with that little incident at the start of the race he had with Dewan, but Finley trying to see if he can get past. Finley is definitely the quicker driver. I think it's just a matter of time whether GMAC wants to fight this one or not. Of course, there's not going to be any DRS, so it's going to be more difficult for Finley to make the overtake without that. So he's going to hope maybe that he's got a better car in a straight line than GMAC, but if anything through Curva Grande was to prove that maybe not the case, because GMAC was able to hold his own quite easily through the Curva Grande. So GMAC, for the time being, holding on to that 2nd, and Twisted just continuing to pull away up front as we've got more fighting further down the field, I believe, as well. And Finley's, again, got a lovely run on the back of him down towards Ascari.
And we actually see a nice overtake heading towards Ascari then. Nobody decides to back off. Fair play after him causing a potential issue on lap 1. I think he seems to be clean apart from obviously that lap 1 incident, which is great to see. So he's learning from his mistakes a little bit as well. I believe obviously Simon Palmer with that DNF, he's not going to score any points. And I think that is does not boost his confidence whatsoever as we're about to start the final lap of this Italian Grand Prix. I nearly said Monza Grand Prix there, but we are actually going to get DRS for the first time this race. But we're not going to get it yet. Here comes Finley then, heading towards turn 1. This time he's going to think about going right in towards the chicane. Goes right, a bit of contact once again, lads. Oh, by the Scottish curve. Oh, Finley had the car unsettled there. This would have given Mata a chance to overtake. Let's see what he does then into Curva Grande. He's got 35% battery to use as well. Through 8th gear here, you'll be going full power here. Brake around about the 100 metre board as you go through the Variante. I can't remember what Variante it is, but it is one Variante anyway. Into the first Lesmo they go as well. And look at the gap up front, 2.8 seconds. But we still got to fight for the podium as well. Tech 31 Racing. And look at that, Cam is up to 6th. After all that, it just shows you don't give up in league racing. But here comes Finley then, heading towards his back straight. He's going to use his DRS. Not much ERS because he's hardly got any. But what a move from Finley up to 2nd. This is Mata's chance now to get GMAT onto this back straight. Here he comes. He's got the ERS to use as well, and he's got the straight line speed. Is he going to go for the move? The answer to that is yes, he can. He's up to 3rd place on the podium. But Twisted starts his 9th. He means to go on, and he wins the sprint race. Finley just about takes 2nd, and Mata with a great result. The Tifosi will be very happy about that and cheering him on in 3rd. Gma will be starting 4th. Casper with a great sprint result in 5th. Cal will be starting 6th. You'll be happy with that. Tech in 7th. Johan will be starting 8th. Kieran in 9th. I think Kez will be starting 10th. Pete in 11th. Simon Palmer 12th. I'm trying to remember the rest of the order. I think Ewan is starting at the back, I believe. And I can't remember who's between those. Great seat. Oh, yeah, because he had that crash in the Ascari. But, yeah, brilliant result for Twisted. Maximum 8 points for him as well. You can see how many points they got here as well. So, yeah, the top 8 get points. So good for those lot. Good to see Tech 31 Racing getting his first points as well. But, yeah, Twisted remain unchallenged. But brilliant last couple of laps for Mata, Aiden.
Yeah, a couple of laps of Mata doing as he usually does, which is just keeping his nose clean and out of trouble and picking up the places where he can. So, yeah, good end to him for there as well. Cam didn't seem to have a lot of pace after that restart once he was in 6th, so I don't know if he had maybe more damage on that car, but Casper managed to get the move done down towards the Parabolica in similar fashion, so he managed to get a good 5th place result out of that one as well. So, yeah, going to be an interesting one, this race is, but Yeah, only person that had a clean sprint race was Twisted, and it showed, and he was up at the front and dominating things as he has done for a lot of the season. So he seems to be continuing at least his strong run of form. And obviously that's only the sprint race. There's still the feature race to go. But if luck and speed is anything to go by, this could be a crucial night for Twisted here. I think Cam's had so much momentum over the past 3 rounds in comparison to his teammate that the championship has been closing in ever since really round 6, hasn't it? The championship has been closing and closing. But if Twisted can then re-extend the gap before the final 3 rounds, that could be massive for Twisted's chance in this championship.
And don't forget, the season ends on the 3rd of May, so pretty much just under a month to go as well until the season ends. Time does fly by the way. But by the way, bad news for people that don't like carnage. We're at Monaco next week, so that's going to be fun for the drivers. And then we got Kota, and then we got Brazil. So 3 more rounds, and if Twisted does well in the last couple of races, he could be champion before we even get to the sprint race in Brazil. So yeah, which is going to be very exciting. Actually, first ever season that I'm going to be able to do the full season as well for a long time. So looking forward to it. But we've still got the main race to go for Monza as well. 4 points on offer, 2 points for fastest lap as well. More chance for people to get points as well. There's certain drivers that got involved in incidents in lap 1 and in the sprint race. What do they need to do to avoid it in the feature?
Not make ambitious overtakes too early in the race, I think, is the key. Yeah, not go for 3 wide moves into turn 1 on a restart or the start of a race. It's not necessary. It's a long race. 27 laps may not seem like long, but there is plenty of ample opportunity beyond lap 1 to be able to make the moves. They always say it, don't they? You can't win a race on the first lap, but you can certainly lose it. And we saw a lot of people in the sprint race lose it on that first one. So, yeah, it's plenty of opportunities later on in this race to pick up places, especially with a slightly smaller field as well. It's not as if the field spread is absolutely massive either. There's plenty of opportunity, so don't go for the moves too early. Give yourself some time and go for the smart moves, because if you, as well, a lot of the time, if you're going for the aggressive moves, you're just going to lose time anyway. Even if you do pull the move off or you don't, the aggressive moves take longer to pull off and they're longer to recover from as well, and that's just going to hurt you in the long run. So no point going for them. And by the way, looking at tyre strategy and in VSL fashion, everybody has gone for something completely different, and I am not surprised. We've got a real mix of hard and medium runners. We've got Twisted on pole on the mediums, along with 3rd and 4th place Mata and GMAC. Twisted, I'm not surprised. I think he just wants to get away at the front, and that makes absolute sense. He wants to just drive away at the front like he did in the sprint and keep himself out of harm's way. Finley, Casper and Cam have gone for the hard compound tyres, so they're obviously going for the longer strategy and hoping that everything is clean in the opening phases. And I think Kieran is expecting an early safety car because he has gone for the softs. And to be fair, if we do get a safety car in the first 2 or 3 laps of the race, he can pit onto a set of hards and honestly could probably take those hards to the end of the race tyre wear-wise, no problem. So if an early safety car does come out, Kieran could put himself in a very good position.
Yes, and I have to say, not a bad move considering what happened in the sprint race. So if I was him, that's pretty good as well. But you're going to be going on to a set of hards anyway, if you're either starting on the mediums or the softs. So, and it can last for quite a long time around this circuit. So, yeah, if a safety car comes like lap 4, lap 5, you can go on to a set of hards to the end. I don't know how they do it, because I tried that in one main race, I think in another league. You probably know which league it is, because that's one of the only leagues that does one stop out of the leagues I race in. And I was almost at puncher territory towards the end of the race. So it does depend on the setup. Hopefully Kieran's setup is good. Kieran will need to pit around about lap 7 for the hards to last for the whole race. So hopefully a safety car would come for him maybe before then, maybe around about lap 6. But not obviously before that point. But anyway, 5 red lights are on. Let's hope we can have a clean turn 1. Twist on pole, Finley alongside, and it's lights out, and away we go once again. Twisted gets another start in Twisted fashion, but everyone else has been left for dust, it looks like, as well. Heading towards turn number 1. There's contact in the background as well. Speed 9 has had a bit of an off, unfortunately. Some people, unsurprisingly, is being a bit more cautious on this restart. Not Finley, though. He did exactly the same to what he did in lap 1. GMAT up into 2nd. It's kind of a repeat to what we saw in that one in the sprint race. So unsurprising to see there. Matt has dropped to 5th. Finley's dropped to 4th. Yaham has gone up to 3rd, and he's on the hard compounder tyres. Oh no! There's contact. Turn number 4. Pretty much half of the field has got caught up in it and got tangled in it. And I thought we would get a safety car, but no, we only got a VSC. So I think who got caught in that? It was Casper, Pete. Pete got away with it, I think. Tech 31 Racing, what about Ratey? Has he got a front wing? Come on, camera, come on. It's not showing the right camera, it's showing the onboard shot. I want to show the I think, yeah, he got away with it as well. So I think a few people just run off some debris. Kaz has got no front wing. Cam, I think, got caught in it as well. Yeah, I think both Red Bulls got caught in it, to be honest. So Red Bulls are going to be in for a hefty fine come the end of this race. As the VSC has now ended, Kieran has got past Matter, and luckily we're going to get one green racing lap.
Yeah, we've managed to get one green lap in, but yeah, we've got Simon Palmer and Keza into the pit lane. Waits is into the pit lane as well, as is Tech 31. Speed Knight and State out, Casper's in as well, so nearly half the field are in at the end of lap one. But yeah, unfortunately for the two Red Bulls, that wasn't really their fault, sadly. The safety car came up because they both lost their front wings, but actually that incident was all on Cam. Cam was going for the move. I don't know who the move was on, but he was 2 car lengths back, went for a dive bomb into the second chicane and outbroke himself so badly that he drove into the side of Matter, who was 2 places in front of him, and that spun Matter and Cam in front of the field. The Red Bulls had nowhere to go, so that incident fully on Cam. Would not be a surprise if there's a penalty coming Cam's way for that one as well. So yeah, just far too, as we mentioned at the start of the sprint and as we mentioned before this race got going, you don't need to make those aggressive moves on lap 1. Cam ignored our advice and went for the aggressive move, and it didn't pay off at all. He's caused a big incident that potentially is going to penalise him further, and managed to lose a place at the start as well rather than gain. So yeah, not a great one there from Cam on those hards. Great start for Yaham. He managed to just avoid all the carnage at turn number 1, managed to skip through when Finney was missing the chicane and other drivers were bouncing over the curves. Yaham kept his nose clean, managed to get up into 3rd, and he's now the lead driver on the hards. As we've got a car on the wall, that is Knighton, who's done exactly what Waitsy did in the sprint race and dropped it, and that is a second virtual safety car. I think Bert Myland is having a well-earned nap after the sprint race, because I don't think he wants to take the safety car out of the pit lane. He just wants to run under VSCs at the moment. I think he's deserved a break after the sprint, but yeah, we're 3 laps in and already 2 virtual safety cars in. Yeah,
I think Pete's car's gone, so you can't see where Pete actually landed as well. But yeah, it looked quite violent, to be honest. Not as violent as Waitsy, but still it was enough for Pete to retire from this Grand Prix. He just can't catch a break. He's not had a good weekend at all. Don't forget, he missed last week's race, and he missed the week before because he had to fill in for Tier 2 comms. So he's missed the last 2 weeks and has not done good in any of those races. Waitsy is coming in. So I wonder if he's picked up damage from somewhere, or if he's going to do a pit stop. He's picked up damage. So is Casper, I believe. So they're going to go on to a set of the hards. If we get another safety car, it could get to the end, but we don't know. Everyone in the field is neutralised once again, which is not going to help Twisted in any way. But we may as well, whilst we have a bit of breathing space, talk about who else has gained on lap 1. Ewan, who, by the way, retired on lap 1, turn 1. He's up 6 places in the sprint race. Don't forget he started last. He's up to 8th place. So he is another one who has avoided the carnage, and he's been able to keep touching distance of Cam up in front. So that's great to see as well. Yaham obviously up 5, as you were saying. Kieran up 4. Casper, the biggest loser out of the whole field, down 8. And Simon Palmer, despite his front wing changes, gained 3 places as well. But Twisted, again, 2 seconds. I wonder if we just give this championship to him now.
He's definitely putting a stamp on it, isn't he? He's doing a brilliant job out front. I know personally as well, Twisted doesn't like this track, and he's still doing a brilliant job. So yeah, it's going well for him at the moment. He will have a bit of a challenge later on with the 2 Alpines, because the 2 Alpines on the hard compound tyres do have decent pace. They are catching GMAC. We've got another EFI, that's 31, that's now spun at Ascari, but managed to keep it out of the wall, I believe. But yeah, the two Alpines running in 3rd and 4th at the moment have got fairly decent pace on those hard compound tyres. They've not fallen a mile away, so if there is no safety car intervention in this race runs green, they will still be fairly in contention for a win here on the better strategy. So keep an eye out for them later on. That could be something that we have to keep an eye on for them. So yeah, good stuff at the front for Twisted as per usual. We've got another yellow flag, that is Waitsy, that has now spun. Some of these drivers not loving Monza tonight whatsoever. It's not been a particularly strong track for some of these drivers, sadly, but Yeah, Twister just doing a brilliant job. And GMAC once again up in second place, keeping his nose out of trouble, doing a good job on the first lap, running his own race, doing his own thing, and then going to pick up the points when everyone else makes mistakes. So, yeah, doing a good job in second place on those medium compound tyres at the moment. And Kieran on those softs, I think he's gutted that we've had 2 VSCs in 3 laps, but no full safety car, because if one of those was a full safety car, he'd be sitting very pretty right now. But they're not. They're 2 virtual safety cars, and that is not what Kieran needed. So Kieran sitting in 5th on those soft compound tyres. What those virtual safety cars have done is managed to get another lap maybe out of these softs later on. So he could probably run these softs about 8 laps or so and still come in for the hard compound tyres and not really lose much time at all anyway. So it's not over for Kieran. He's still on for a good result with this strategy either way.
Yes, it's not over for Kieran, because bearing in mind the lowest start position to have won around Monza is 11th, and obviously Kieran is 5th. The person who's 11th at the moment is Tech, so Tech could still realistically win this race. And look what he's done. He's had a bit of a spin. Oh, that was close between himself and the Red Bull driver. Jesus Christ. But luckily no contact done there as well. Luckily, I think the drivers have seemed to have found a little bit of a rhythm now. Now things are calmed down, hopefully. Oh, did I speak too soon? Yes, I spoke too soon. Waitsy has had a bit of a moment. Luckily, I think he caught the car just in time to not crash into the wall like he did in the sprint race. Keza is pitted again for his 3rd front wing change. Or I can't remember. I think it is his 3rd front wing change as well. So he comes in onto a set of hards. Could get to the end if we get a few safety cars, so it's not doom and gloom for him as well. 3.1 seconds, so he stretches the gap even more twisted. Yarham's found some straight line speed on GMAT. Don't forget we do have DRS. Waitsy's out of this race. I think Yarham is going to have to pretty much fight back, I think, a little bit to try and get this move. Luckily, though, Waitsy has retired in the pit lane, so they are still keeping going, of course. But going through Curva Grande now. Full power here, don't forget, around about 77% of the lap. Can be taken at full throttle here. So using all the power that you can through here as GMAC closes the door, which is great to see as well. And Finley keeping his nose strong as well at the front, near the front as well. So we'll get tyres, and as Tech has gone for a little bit of a trip to spin as well, and Casper spun as well. So I wonder if they both made contact. Luckily they didn't get beached there, but yeah, as they all go under the bridge for the 6th time of this race. Yarham, I think, is just playing the patient game. He's saving his ERS, ready for the prime move to overtake. He's going to potentially do a hard to medium strategy, but it could be the case where he could do hard soft and could make it work. Maybe get the hards to around about lap 20, but the fastest strategy is hard to mediums for sure, as Tech One Racing another retirement. That means, though, if you finish this race, you guarantee points.
Yeah, guaranteed points now if you finish the race. And here comes Yarham down the pit straight. He's using that reserve of VRS that he's got over GMAC. He's going to go for the move down the inside line. GMAC's not going to fight this one. I think GMAC knows Yarham's the faster driver on a different strategy, so he's just going to let the Alpine go. And GMAC has more ERS, so he might... Oh, never mind. He's going to go for the switchback because Yarham missed the corner slightly. So GMAC going for the switchback. He's got the ERS to use as well. But Yarham now back in the slipstream as they run up towards the De La Rogia chicane. Who's going to have the better line into the corner? Yarham is still behind the Mercedes, and he sits behind the Mercedes for another chicane. So GMAC back into second. Smart racing there. He has a lot more ERS in his back pocket, and Yarham was too ambitious on the brakes that time around and missed the corner. So, yeah, GMAC is back up into second place, but all this means is that Twisted is now 4 seconds up the road, loving life with 80% ERS and not pushing at all. So Twisted is having the time of his life, I think, at the front of the field. His teammate, though, on the other hand, is not. I'm kind of baffled here by Cam's lack of pace tonight, because even when he's been in clean air, he's used up all of his ERS in clean air, and he seems to have no pace. We don't know of any damage, but we don't think he's really been involved in an incident, a heavy enough incident to result in any damage of any sorts that we know of. So not quite sure where his lack of pace is tonight. He's on the hard compound tyres, he's got Dewan behind, who's keeping it at 2 seconds, but he's falling away from the entire top 6. He's slower than everybody at the moment inside the top 6 and falling behind them. So Cam at the moment currently sitting in 7th with seemingly no pace at all compared to what we've seen him do all season long. So the Cam we know of usually is the case of he's been fast, but sometimes he's been error prone. This time around he's been error prone, but he hasn't had the speed to go with it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame that as well. It could be down to the fact that he just doesn't like this track, or maybe he hasn't found a setup that's comfortable yet. Maybe he has a setup that is not as stable as his previous setups as well. I remember when he was racing in China last week, how comfortable he was as well, even with the safety cars. He got very, very lucky as well with the safety cars, but there was certain stuff which could have gone wrong for him, but it went all right for him as well. But it just goes to show drivers up near the top of the championship could make mistakes. And if you're Cam, you can't afford to make mistakes, especially when Twisted is going to be scoring more points for you at this stage of the race, which is not ideal. Because don't forget, Twisted obviously has gained 8 points from the sprint race. I can't remember where Cam started. He started SIP, so he's lost about, I think, 6 points over Twisted right now, which is not what you want. Which means could be one step closer to Twisted winning this championship, and it could end at a drop of a hat, which we don't want to see. We want to see a close championship. But anyway, here comes the Arham then. For round number 3, it looks like, as Kieran goes into the pit, and he's going to go for the softs, the hard combat of tyres to the end of the race. Hopes for an early safety car is not going to materialise, but the gamble, I have to say, it was a good gamble to make. So respect to Kieran on that one. But Johan down the inside on GMAC, up into second, and he's already pulling away. And the next car who's going to try and overtake GMAC is the other Alpine on Finley as well. We know how he's good on the straight line as well. So. There we go. Strange things out. Oh, Philly's got a penalty in turn 4. And Aidan, you're on mute.
I am on mute. Yeah, I was too busy sneezing, and I was talking, trying to talk there. So yeah, Finley. Unfortunately for him, just turned in too early to the first part of the De La Roger. He's right up behind GMAC again, but I think he's just gonna have to wait until GMAC loses DRS before he can go for an easy move. You can tell just on board with the Alpine, he's so much faster than GMAC behind, GMAC in front. Sorry. So yeah, Finley doesn't need to go for a crazy move here. He just needs to pick his moment and go for it when the opportunity arises. Yeah, Twisted continues to pull away, 6 seconds out in front now. So. Doing a brilliant job on those medium compound tyres. He's not had to push. He's still setting fastest laps, 10 laps in. So looking very comfortable at the front of the field is the Williams driver. And he's done that all season, hasn't he? The only 2 rounds where he's not scored, one of them was a DNF. The other one he disconnected midway through the race, so he didn't have the opportunity to score the points as Finney's trying to come at GMAC into turn 1, but he isn't close enough. Yeah, other than that, Twisted has finished first or second in every race in the season. So he's been incredibly consistent all season long, even if he's not been the fastest. So yeah. Brilliant stuff from Twisted once again today. And now we were talking about earlier on the Alpines potentially coming back at him later on in this race. I think he's doing a good enough job on these mediums at the moment that he's potentially taking them out of range completely here, because 6 seconds is a huge amount of time to gain on a track like Monza. So yeah, I don't know how well the Alpines are going to be able to chew into that gap now for the lead of this race. So Twisted leading by 6 seconds. GMAC is still trying to hold on to that 3rd place, but Finley is definitely a lot faster, and it should be a matter of time. I think GMAC's race here is a race with Mata here to see who can finish 4th at the moment.
Yeah, because don't forget, Mata got that podium in the sprint race, but he didn't get the best of starts compared to everybody else. But maybe he just wasn't attuned to the mediums compared to everybody else. But maybe he just likes the hards a little bit better. So we'll see how that goes in the race. But here comes Finley then. He's going to take the outside route then, heading in towards the Parabolica chicane. Is he going to take the best line and hold it in towards the start-finish straight? Well, he's going to do so at least, but GMAT is not going to give up without a fight as he pulls to the right-hand side line to cover him off. But I think one of them has to back off because Yarham is insanely close, heading towards T1. Making contact once again, but no harm done. Fair racing between the two of them, respectful racing between the two of them as well, as Finley just about goes ahead of GMAT. Going through towards Curva Grande once again to see what he could do, heading towards turn number 4. And no, Finley just about holds it off once again. So Finley, I have to say, good job from him so far, but he does have that penalty, whereas GMAT doesn't. So I don't think GMAT fought that too much, but he may get a penalty himself. So he was just battling on track at least. But the pit window, I believe, is open for the medium runners to go onto the hard tyres. So watch for Twisted, GMAT and Mata to pit potentially in the next few laps.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they do, especially GMAC. I think now that he's been overtaken by the Alpines, it makes sense that he comes in and puts himself potentially at a tyre advantage and try and undercut. So that'll be one to look out for if he comes into this pits. Obviously, Matter another one as well. Twisted, I think, will go again by the looks of things. Yes, he does. Twisted goes for another lap, so he is continuing on in the lead and still pulling away from the two Alpines. Oh, Yarham spun! Yarham has spun from second place through Ascari. He's, I think, managed to just about keep it out of the wall, but a solid second place finish potentially for Yarham in this race has gone out the window through a mistake through the Parabolica. We've seen it so many times tonight already, people spinning in the Parabolica. Yeah, from a comfortable second place, Yarham has binned it, and that is a massive opportunity for him in the championship to close in on Cam now. Gone and out of the window because he's back behind Cam. So another opportunity blown, and another thing falls into Twisted's lap here. It just keeps going his way at the moment.
It's now 7 seconds, and even if he gets a penalty, a 3-second penalty, he's going to absolutely fly away. And even if we get another safety car, he could go on a set of hards and then a set of mediums, and then it should all be good. But you have to use at least one different tyre compound per race, even if it's for a lap, of course. But he's probably just waiting for a safety car to come up, potentially, and make sure he leads every lap. But by the way, after all of this, after Yarham's spin, I was watching it. Matago went down the inside of GMAT, took advantage of that mistake from Yarham. He's up to third, so he's making sure he's in the same position as he was in the sprint race to try and score some decent points out of all of this. And he is a driver who likes to keep his nose clean, maybe take a caution the first couple of laps, but then after the first few laps have been and gone, he's not the cautious man. He wants to take some risks, and that is exactly what he is doing. Apart from obviously the race that he didn't take part in round number 2, he scored points in every single race. He is not DNF'd in any race at all. I think he's the only driver, maybe apart from Kazza, to finish every single race that he's competed in, which is great to see. It shows you do not give up. Meanwhile, as I was saying about the medium runners, Twisted and GMAT have come into the pits, both onto a set of hard compounded tyres then. So we'll see what they do as they climb their way up the field. GMAT, though, not the best of pit stop for him. He's dropping way down the field, whereas Twisted, obviously, with that big gap, has helped him a little bit as well. But Matter surely will have to come in soon as well, because otherwise he's going to drop way behind.
Yeah, one person we've completely forgot to mention in this whole process is Kieran, of course, who pitted from the softs onto the hards, and he's managed to jump GMAC, and GMAC was running in a net fourth. And the gap between Twisted and Kieran suggests that when the pit stops play out, Kieran's going to be in second place here. So Kieran's thrown his hat into the ring potentially for a podium result. Of course, he's going to be on older tyres, but we know that the tyre wear isn't particularly high around here, and the hards can maintain their pace for pretty much 27 laps out of 27. They're a pretty good tyre around here. So Kieran's thrown his hat into the ring for a potential good result here. I think his only threat potentially to a second place finish is Finley when he's on the alternate strategy. So, and of course Finley still has a penalty to deal with. So that is going to be one thing. As Matter is into the pit lane, then he pits off of those medium compound tyres at the end of lap 13. So we'll see where he comes out in relation to this. He should be though back with GMAC, and yeah, Kieran's 5.7 seconds behind Twisted and nearly 4 seconds up the road from GMAC. So Kieran's going to be comfortably ahead of the likes of Matter, you would assume, by the time Matter comes out of the pit lane. Here he comes then down the pit lane, does Matter towards the speed limiter sign. There he goes through the speed limiter, and Kieran is through already, and Matter's still got to warm his tyres up. So Kieran here, right in the thick of the action for a potential second place finish because he's kept himself out of trouble.
And who knows, potentially a race win, because it does take a while for the hards to warm up around here. So you never know, Kieran might be faster on the hards than Twisted. So we'll see if he catches up. And if we start to see the gap increase again, then we know that Twisted is on fire tonight, and the gap is starting to increase even more. Just a little bit, but you can start to see Kieran taking advantage of obviously being on much warmer tyres as well compared to Twisted. Don't forget, Kieran, he's in a net P2 right now in this race. Considering where he was in the sprint race, I have to say, very decent job for him. He's probably gained the most positions out of anybody. And don't forget, we still got the top 4 remaining to pit. They may be on different strategies. I think if I was Ewan, I might pray for a safety car. Same with Yarham as well, after the trouble that he has had as well. Do not give up in league race. We do not have long to go of this Italian Grand Prix. I have to say it's a lot cleaner than the sprint race, so a lot of these drivers have learned from their escapades in that. So I think because obviously the longer the race, I think the more cleaner that it gets at the moment. But meanwhile, Ewan trying to get on track position to Cam as we head towards turn 3. To no avail at the moment, though, so we know how fast Cam is. But you can see Ewan is closing up on Cam. It's not like Ewan at all to do this. Cam is definitely struggling out there, which is not like him, as we were saying earlier, and he almost lost it heading towards the first part of the turn 4 turn.
Yeah, you can definitely tell Cam's one of those drivers that when he's not comfortable, it really shows, doesn't it? When he doesn't like a track or he isn't too comfortable with the setup, his pace seems to just completely plummet and his confidence seems to go out the window. Whereas a driver like Twisted, who's already expressed tonight that Monza is not a track he enjoys and he's not got a setup he enjoys, he's still managing to get a really good drive and a result out of it as it stands. So yeah, Cam's one of those drivers. I think he builds all of his success on the confidence that he's able to get, which is why he's had such good momentum as of recently. But he's come into this race not confident, and it's really showing. He's kind of all over the place. He's not got a lot of pace at all, and he's way out of position to where we usually see him. So yeah, Cam having a bit of a rough race as Finley is into the pit lane off of his medium tyres. Cam is in as well. Dewan stays out for another lap, so he's going to go a little bit longer in this race. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Finley comes out here in relation to Kieran, because that'll be the big fight. Of course, he will be on medium compound tyres. He should be faster. He does have a 3-second penalty, though, to account for at the end of this race. Twisted is already through and past Finley and up the road, so no worry for Twisted whatsoever. Here comes Kieran. Kieran is comfortably ahead of Finley here. Mata could be right by Finley as well by the time his medium tyres are warmed up. So Kieran's got himself a little bit of a buffer to Finley behind and a time penalty. Kieran here is definitely in a very good position in this race to pick up a potential second place.
I have to say the gap is very stable between Twisted and Kieran right now. It's around about 5.6, 5.8 since obviously Twisted pitted. So I have to say Kieran keep it consistent, and usually consistency is key in league racing, and that helps you win championships. But unfortunately, Kieran is obviously not going to win a championship here, but we are seeing the potential two champions battling it out for position. We do see a yellow flag in the background. I think it might be Casper and Keza. Actually, no, it's Keza that's a lap down. Fair play to Keza, though, for still keeping going, even after some troubles in this race. As Ewan still leads the way, but for how much longer? Casper, Casper's gone onto the runoff area into the sausage curb, and that did not work for him at all as he tried to get past Simon Palmer, and he stayed in 10th place, but he's going to probably try and go the fastest lap earlier. But second to last driver that's coming into the pit, and that is Ewan, so he comes in for set of medium tyres as well. So we'll see how they do towards the end of the race. I'm almost certain that Kieran is going to be comfortably ahead of Ewan, which he is. Maybe Mata as well. Here comes Mata as he comes out of the pit lane. And I think GMAT's going to jump Ewan as well. So yeah, Ewan has dropped massive places here on lap 17 out of 27. But he's got the fresher rubber, as you were saying, around about 4 tenths difference between the tyres. But that is a lot compared to other tracks, because obviously of how short this track is in terms of length and time. So they do not have long to catch up to these guys as well. But meanwhile, yellow flag, that is
Keza.
That's Keda that's off. Second, Lesmo. I believe he'll be ghosted because he's a lap down, so luckily he won't cause too much trouble. I wonder, Aiden, if he's got rear wing damage, because he keeps spinning every lap so far since he got that.
Yeah, potentially there's some damage on that car that we can't see because it does look a bit undrivable. So, yeah, Keza down in 11th. Fair play for him, he's still going, but he is really struggling. Looking on board with Finley, he's already caught to the back of Kieran on these medium tyres. So he's got good pace as Finley, but yeah, that penalty is going to cost him. And I've already seen him cut the De La Roche chicane for a second time. So there was definitely potentially another penalty coming Finley's way if he's not careful. So, yeah, Finley going to go for a net second place in this race here on the road. But if Kieran can keep within his DRS range, Kieran still has the second place in hand as we've got a yellow flag. Yeah, Casper has gone off the road again. I don't know if that is with contact with Simon Palmer, whether he's just gone off on his own. But if that is contact,
Finley
I don't know
and
how.
Kieran.
Yeah, going for the move. Kieran is trying to squeeze Finley as much to the curb as he possibly can. Can't quite do it, though. Better tyres for Finley. Better traction coming out the corner. Finley is through and into third place on the road. Second place in this race. Kieran, though, is going to try and fight back. He's going to have the inside line towards the De La Roche chicane. He doesn't really need to fight it this hard, but he's down the inside. Nothing Finley can do. And nice re-overtake there from Kieran. He's back through and he's back up into third.
I have to say, Kieran doing a very good job holding off Finley there for position, even on the harder rubber, as Finley gets another time penalty. So I think Kieran, no matter what Finley throws at him, Kieran is going to be ahead anyway. Keza picks one as well, but Finley is not going to give up without a fight. He's going to go down the inside, heading towards Ascari, just before you even go into the Ascari chicane. And he's up to third on the road. Can he build that gap to 6 seconds and be ahead of Kieran to finish in P2 in this race, which I have to say will be quite good for him. But bearing in mind, though, there will be, I believe, obviously, steward's inquiries that could potentially throw his race at a loop. So hopefully for him, it won't cause too much trouble for the Alpine driver. As we're on lap 19 out of 27, here comes Kieran once again. It's going to be like a ding-dong battle between the two of them. And I have to say, for the pair of them, hopefully these guys can keep it up as we head towards turn 1. Ewan, on the other hand, gets past GMAC on fresher tyres, up into P6 on those mediums. So those mediums seem to be behaving well for Finley and Ewan at the moment as well. Ewan is going to be closing up to Matt at any time soon. But again, it depends on the pace. Finley to the inside of turn number 4. Oh, contact. Finley goes off the track. I wonder if he should have made that move there, but Kieran just about holds on to P3 for now, and all this is doing is bringing the train along with them.
Yeah, it was a little bit ambitious from Finley on that side of things, so I think fair play to Kieran there. Not really. Oh, Matta spun. Matta's dropped the car. Wow, first retirement of the season for Matta. He's dropped it from a brilliant position in the race. That is his race over and done with no safety car called, so I think some drivers will be relieved by that. But for the first time this season, we've seen Matta make a crucial mistake from what could have been potentially a second place finish for Matta in this one. He is out of it, out of the race for the first time this season.
Ooh.
That is such a shame for him, but yeah, we're back to the fight for the second place on the road now. Finley should have this move done down the pit straight. He will have the better run down the straight, of course, on these fresher tyres and with the DRS as well. But has he got the straight line speed on that McLaren just in general to get the move done easy? It's not going to be an easy move as he heads down towards the first chicane. Kieran's going to put the car in the middle of the road and he doesn't have to do anything about it. Yaham spun for a second time coming out of turn number 2. Kieran holds on to third on the road for the time being. So great driving between Kieran and Finley. This is the lovely race, and this is a race we've been wanting to see. But they're fighting, and they're going to catch Yaham as he's recovering from his spins. So Kieran here is going to get stuck in an Alpine sandwich. He's looking to try and defend. Finley's not close enough. Finley has to stay behind for the time being, and Kieran holds on to that net third place. And oh, actually, he's going to get boxed in here. The Alpines are boxing him in. Look, Yaham's boxing Kieran in, and that has let Finley through. And Yaham has boxed Kieran in. And yeah, Kieran's now down to third. I don't think Kieran's going to be too pleased by that one.
No, but he's not. And don't forget, it's not for track position between Yaham, Finley and Kieran. Yaham's still yet to box. So with Yaham staying out, he's losing valuable time, which he could have gone into the pits for a set of the medium tyres. But I think, unsurprisingly, he's going to go on to a set of soft tyres. Every Monza race I've either commentated on or raced on, there's always been a late safety car. So that's what Yaham is playing at the moment. Looking very unlikely at the moment. We thought we were going to get one there with Matta's crash, but it was off the circuit, which is fair enough. As Yaham, is he going to go in? Yes, he is. He could realistically go for softs. He could make it. We saw how long it went for the sprint races, bearing in mind there were quite a few safety cars. But as Kieran has got revenge on Finley as he gets past him up into second place, and they're going to continue the battle once more, which we know and love. But you can see Finley's got the really good straight line speed. I think these two are going to be talking about this battle for a long time to come just yet, leaving each other just about enough room. Finley's going to go for the gamble and take the line that I do not think we see coming, but he thinks that it won't be a good opportunity. He was a bit squirmy on exit through turn 4 and 5, heading towards the first Lasmo. He doesn't look that comfortable at all, but I think he really starts to gain on the straight, as you can have a look, rather than the corners. So here he goes then. He's going to have the DRS. He's got 13% ERS then, coming towards this back straight then. Right-hand side line, and he's going to do it before we even get to the Ascari chicane. Here he comes. Is he going to get Kieran? Yes, he is. Finley's up into second place already, but we could see a change for second place before we know it. Yellow flag for one of the Red Bulls. Not sure who that was, but twisted because of that battle in front. 9 seconds is the gap.
Yeah, he's just disappearing off into the distance. Fair play to Kieran, by the way, considering the tyre difference between Finley and Kieran. This is great driving from Kieran. His tyres are 7 laps older and they're hards compared to mediums. So Kieran doing a brilliant job, and he's going to come back at him down the pit straight here on Finley down towards turn number 1. He doesn't know which side to go. He decides at the last minute to go to the outside. Can he get the move done on Finley? Finley's going to try and keep his nose down the inside. They run side by side as a full safety car comes out. Yarham's crashed the car. Coming out of Ascari, his race is over and done with, and the safety car is out with 6 laps to go.
Bring it on.
That changes the complexion of this race. That is the last thing Twisted wanted to see in this race, but I think it doesn't really matter. He's got everything covered. That is the saviour for Kieran. That is the saviour for quite a few drivers in this race, other than 8th on down, because Simon Palmer, Casper and Keza are all a lap down. So if they pit now, they're not going to get their lap back. So, yeah. Not great for them. They're going to be stuck where they are. Simon Palmer's going to have to hope that Twisted pits and he can stay out and unlap himself. Other than that, Simon Palmer's going to trap himself a lap down here as well. So, yeah, this could be a long time before we get going again. But one person this does help is Dewan, because he's...
Oh, wow! Simon Palmer's having another issue. He's lost his front wing. So he's going to pit anyway.
Well, just as we were saying, he had to get his lap back. He spun it under safety car somehow. So... Oh dear.
He's not going to get his lap back now.
Yeah, definitely not going to get his lap back anymore. But yeah, one person I was going to say in this safety car this has helped is Dewan, because Dewan here was in 4th, slightly closing on Finley and Kieran as they battled, and now he is going to be right up behind them. And of course, Finley does have a penalty. So I think all of them are trying to move out the way of one another and give each other, I don't know what is going on. And Kieran's now crashed. Oh. And Finley's got a penalty and Dewan's got a penalty for ignoring yellow flags.
Oh, is it Delta glitch?
I think they've all got penalties for ignoring yellow flags because of Simon Palmer's spin. And
that'll get removed. I'm almost certain that'll get removed.
Only problem is they're all pitting. So most of them won't get removed. Finley stayed out, interestingly. So Finley stayed out. Twisted's pitted for a set of softs, not a surprise. Cam is in for a set of softs as well. Cam's going to be in a net second place here. Cam, all of a sudden, with no pace and nothing going on in his race, is now in a net second right behind his teammate. So that is going to annoy Twisted big time, because Twisted here was going to have a massive advantage in the championship after this race. And because of the penalties for everybody else under the pit lane and Kieran spinning before he came into the pit lane, Cam has just brought himself right back into contention here.
I have to say, Cam has probably an unlimited amount of lives in his brain at the moment. Cat has 9 lives. I think Cam definitely has more than that. He is a very lucky boy as well, because at the end of it, we could still see a Williams 1-2, even though we thought it wasn't going to happen and all it took was a safety car to do it. And this is going to remind me of USA 2005, where we only have 6 cars fighting for the win of this race, because 3 of them are let down. So, oh my God, I think there's one word where I'm excited, and in other words, it's going to be quite a weird restart, because if you're in the top 6, you're more than guaranteed to get a good result, as long as you finish, of course. So Finley's only going to lose a few positions if he stays out. But he's got that penalty as well, which is going to cost him big time as well. This could go each other's way. Kieran didn't need that safety car, and I think needed the ones who got that 5-second penalty. Shame he can't get that removed. Casper, I believe, is coming in. He's not going to get his lap back anyway, so he's going to try and go the fastest lap. I don't blame him. Going for a fresh set of softs, go fastest lap, get some extra points. That could really help you with the constructors at least as well. I'm surprised. Obviously, Keza hasn't gone and done it, but Casper has. Here he comes in, and he's going to go to the back. So at least he doesn't have to move out the way of other cars as well. He can get some clean air as well and try and get that fastest lap potentially as well. But it's Finley that leads. 4 tenths difference between each of the tyres now. I'm going to say my prediction, Aiden, is I think Twisted is going to win this one.
Yeah, I'd be amazed if anything but Twisted winning this race happens, because he's dominated this entire event so far, and yeah, it's been his race to lose. So if he doesn't win this race, I think that's cruel on Twisted, because he's had such a good night tonight. So we'll definitely see what he can do. Cam right back in contention here as well. Finley, of course, with those two track limits penalties, means he's not really in this fight at all. So him staying out is a weird call, I will say, but he's not really in this fight at all. So I'm guessing he's hoping that some people will spin out at the safety car restart and he'll gain from that. So, yeah, he leads the way, but he's not really in contention. At the moment, the net podium is the two Williams, with Dewin in third from absolutely nowhere in this race. And he is now right up back into contention in this one. So, yeah, really weird one this race has been, as Casper is deliberately hanging back so that we don't get a safety car restart this lap, which is very interesting tactics.
He know it's going to be a lap down anyway. I don't get it. Maybe that potentially that could help Kieran a little bit. But it's been out for a few laps already. But safety car, the latest it comes out is at the end, well, the start of the parabolic curve. So if it's going to come in, it's going to come in round about. No, but it's not going to come in. No. Okay, it's going to stay out for another lap then. So, interesting tactics for Casper, but I can see why he's done it. And Kieran comes in.
That's why.
Ah.
That's why he's done it. So, a driver a lap down, well, a driver 2 laps down, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is pitted, has deliberately held back to hold the safety car up so that his teammate can come into pits for a set of softs. No front wing change. I thought there was going to be a front wing change on Kieran's car. Maybe he'd got some damage, but that is not the case. So Kieran's just coming for a fresh set of softs, even though the softs that everybody was on haven't done any racing laps yet. So to me, that makes no sense, especially considering the fact that Kieran's now going to have to restart behind all the lapped cars, which he can't overtake until he's past the start-finish line. So he's in fact just put himself behind 3 cars and put himself further away from the drivers in front, with less laps and less opportunities to get the moves done.
Oh,
so,
no.
As Simon Palmer's been disqualified from the session. So, yeah. Tonight's not been a good night.
It's not been a good night for Simon at all, and I think that was a bit unfair from the game, to be honest, but was it because I think he ignored too many blue flags? I don't know. I'm not entirely sure about that one. That's weird, but that's a weird thing from the game, unfortunately, and if I was Simon Palmer, I would be very annoyed, but that will mean Casper will stay in 8th position. Kez will be in 7th. This is turning into be, I think, a race of attrition, I think, in this race. As I think I've seen a tweet for the Insider Info Twitter account that we're going to get less finishes tonight. And I think that account predicted correct, I think, as well. So whoever owns that account, you're a mind reader, let's just say. I think you've probably gone to the future and then gone back in time to tell us that. But anyway, I'm only joking, of course. But anyway... Finley, he's going to control his restart for the first time. It's going to be hard because he's got 2 Williams in front of him. And he's got some lapped cars as well. This is probably going to be a chaotic restart that we've ever been. We're not going to have any more DRS to contend with as well. They've got plenty of ERS. So Finley has got to floor it. And he has. But... is it the right time, though? Because Twisted is going to get a massive tow going towards the start-finish straight. He's absolutely going to floor it and overtake Finley and leave him for dust. Twisted is going to take back the lead of this Italian Grand Prix. No matter what conditions you throw at Twisted, he still leads this race anyway. From Finley, from Cam. Cam, I think, is going to struggle a little bit. Ewan could be back in this race as well, but he's dropping a little bit off Cam, so this could be giving him some breathing space at the moment as well. No major moves happening from the likes of GMAC and Kieran right now, and Kieran has still got to overtake the likes of GMAC as well, so him pitting now, not the wise call, unfortunately, but it was an interesting risk to take. He took the gamble, and unfortunately that gamble didn't pay off, but we're on 1.5 laps to go as we head towards the second Lesmo. And Twisted, again, showing why he's a championship leader currently.
Yeah, showing it definitely is, and he's just got the restart nailed. Finley went a bit early, didn't get the best one through the parabolic, and Twisted just floored it down the straight. Brilliant driving from him, and a clean overtake at the end of the straight as well to boot. So, yeah, brilliant stuff from Twisted. Like you say, it doesn't matter what you throw at him. This race is his to go for. As here comes Dewin on the back of Cam for a net second place in this race. He's got a great run down towards the parabolica, but he decides against going for the move down the inside. In the background, though, Kieran's going to try and go the long way around GMAC at the parabolica. Can he get the move done around the outside and get back in the top 5? He can get the move done. They're fighting in front as well, as Cam is on the back of Finley and Dewin's on the back of this pair as well. Here comes Cam down the inside of Finley for second place on the road. Can he get the move done down the inside into the chicane? He's going to have to be late on the brakes, and he is late on the brakes. Got the inside, but Finley's got the hold it round the outside. Lovely driving from Finley on those older tyres to hold the position, and he holds second place on the road. Kieran in the background as well gets the move on GMAC as we head on to the final lap.
Don't forget, Finley has got a 6-second penalty, so the more that they're squabbling, Finley's going to drop way down the order, but he's still going to fight anyway. Cam down the inside in towards turn 4, and they make a little bit of a mistake, and they make a bit of contact, and look at Ewan. Ewan is going to get both cars, a double overtake, heading towards the first Lesmo. Beautiful stuff. He's trying to capitalise on that, and he did, up into second. G-Matt's got past Finley as well, so Finley's dropping way down the order. He is dead last out of the ones who are on the lead lap. Here comes Kieran. You can tell Cam is struggling. Kieran is going to try and get the podium again from Cam, which he does through Ascari. He's got to be careful that he does not unsettle the car, which he does not, which is great to see. They're all running out of VRS, but there was a man who has had no incidents at all this race, the only one who's had a perfect weekend, got pole, got the sprint race pole as well, and he's got the win here at Monza and the Extended Championship lead. We could potentially send the trophy to his house now. Ewan in second, and Kieran, even after pitting, he's still finished where he was before the safety car even happened, so he's in third. So he was a lucky boy. Ewan in second. He's got driver of the day as well. Don't forget, Ewan started dead last, I believe. Because he DNF lap 1, and now look at him. It just shows you do not give up, but no one could stop Twisted tonight. Absolutely dominant all race. No matter what you throw at him, even if there were safety cars, he was still be like 2 or 3 seconds quicker than everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant performance. Fastest lap as well on the final lap to boot. So full lottery of points for Twisted. He locks out every single point maximum he could have got tonight. Perfect night for Twisted. Completely out of harm's way the whole time. No issues whatsoever all race long. Brilliant performance. Clean performance as well when he needed to be. Absolutely brilliant stuff. And yeah, Cam losing his places on that last lap as well, I think definitely means that Twisted now with 3 rounds to go has one hand on that trophy. Yeah.
We may as well go through your results now, and there's not many finishes, so we're not going to be there very long, but Twisted wins from Dewan. We got Kieran. Cam miraculously recovered to 4th, but that would maybe helping solidify his 2nd place in the championship. G-Matt in 5th, though we got Finley and Keza. No, Finley was the last person on the lead lap. Keza was a lap down, so was Casper as well. And your DNFers, there's quite a lot of them. Yarham, Matter, his first DNF of the season. Tep 31 Racing, Racy, Knighton, and Simon Palmer. Well, it was a lot cleaner in this race, even though we had one safety car. Well, quite a few safety cars at the start. One safety car at the end. But, yeah, Monza, just like usual league racing fashion, brings out chaos.
Yeah, it definitely does. But unfortunately, I don't think we can fully blame this one on Monza, sadly. I guess Monza does bring out that. But we have seen this some incidences like this in this championship in previous rounds as well. So, yeah, but Monza does tend to bring out that because there's so many heavy braking zones, and you tend to get a lot of those dive bomb moves. But majority of the time, it's these people going for late moves when they know they can't pull them off, and then making moves that just are never going to work, which is really unfortunate. It's just a lack of patience, really, isn't it? More than anything, is that people are so desperate to get the move done as quickly as possible that they just throw caution to the wind, and most of the time it doesn't pay off. And we saw that a lot tonight, unfortunately, which is a real shame because we've seen at many other rounds this season that these drivers are capable of far better than that. We've seen it at many other circuits this season where we've had amazing races without any of these incidents. So we know they're capable of better. Unfortunately, tonight they just weren't able to complete that for us.
Even Australia, they were a lot better, not going to lie.
Yeah.
And Australia usually is prone to a few more incidents as well, but hopefully they can recover next week, of course. Obviously, Twisted being, I think, one of my drivers of the day as well, and Ewan coming from 2nd on the grid as well. Any other standout performances? We can't think of many, actually, but I think Ewan has definitely got to be another one.
Yeah, I think Ewan's definitely one from the back of the grid, of course, kind of taken out of the sprint race when we didn't really get to see what he could have done, I think, in the sprint. I think if that race was anything to go by, I think he could have got some solid points in the sprint race, so I think that incident in the sprint, we can't put any blame on Dewan for that one. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And beyond that incident, Dewan had a very clean... I think Dewan, you could probably say, is the only other driver that really had a clean round. Obviously, unfortunately...
Apart from the sprint.
Apart from the sprint, of course, but that was just a first lap incident that wasn't really his fault at all. Just wrong place, wrong time. So, yeah. So, other than that, Dewan had a really good round. Really great driver and recovery back up to 2nd place as well. So, he's definitely another candidate for a solid driver of the day performance as well. But I think with everything that we had tonight, you have to give it to Twisted. I mean, he was just superior all night. Fastest driver by a mile, incredibly clean, didn't put a foot wrong, didn't pick up any penalties or anything, set fastest lap when he could and to get the maximum points as well. Just an all-around dominant performance tonight from Twisted.
Yeah, and I think one hand on the championship, and if anyone is able to overhaul his points in towards the end of the season, I'll be shocked as well.
Yeah.
And he only got 3 more rounds. So good luck to all the drivers that think that can do that. I think Cam is probably the closest one that can do that potentially. So Cam has really got to have a good race at Monaco, Kota and Brazil. And don't forget we got the sprint race and the feature in Brazil as well. So plenty of action still to happen. But we're going to end this stream there. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you do want to check us out, we're on Instagram and Twitter at VSL_F1. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube as well. Check us out every week live at 8 p.m. Also check out our sponsor as well, PGR Designs. And also check us out on Twitter as well. Our bios, well, our socials are on the screen below. We're going to probably head off now. Have a good evening. We will see you next week for the Monaco Grand Prix. It's going to be a fun one. I like commentating around this track, but I don't think the drivers like racing it. But yeah, we'll see how they do. Have a good evening and take care, stay safe, and bye-bye.